The Menu was a 2022 film that was positively received by critics and casual audience members alike. Although this was definitely partially due to it being highly gripping and watchable, I suspect that a key contributing factor to this film being as popular as it was due to what it had to say about the class structure of America. The cultural tension between the rich and the poor in today's society may feel to some like at an all-time high, with big business crushing the underclass and billionaires sending rockets into space whilst thousands of Americans remain unemployed. You can see why a lot of people struggle to keep positive perceptions of the wealthy. The 1% is a phrase that's used a lot these days, a derogatory term for the elite members of society who are so rich and powerful they more or less exist in their own exclusive bubble reality. A separate class of humanoids who are all alienated and adrift from the rest of society, very much like the set of characters in the Menu. These characters, who literally spend the vast majority of their screen time isolated on this strange island, collectively act as the perfect narrative microcosm of high society. Almost every negative archetype of elite society is represented here within the ensemble cast, and the American population were more than ready to see these archetypes be picked apart through storytelling. We have the young, entitled trust fund brats as well as the washed up celebrity. We also have the senior millionaire who represents old wealth, the ever-present patriarchal forces which have maintained power for years on end. He has a Weinsteinian twang to him as we see he's been entangled in a scandal pertaining to an encounter with a prostitute. There's the food critic who knows too much comfort and luxury that she takes the many pleasures around her for granted. The sociopathic art snob who spends all of his time coveting delights that are unattainable to the average person, devoid of any humanity and consumed only by a delusional infatuation with pricey appetizers. We also have additional characters that complement the film's themes as well, such as the savvy yet cynical agent who accompanies the actor, as well as the sycophantic bootlicker who inflates the ego of the food critic. Together, they all encapsulate many of the negative mentalities embodied by a good amount of the wealthy elite of today's society. Ignorance, arrogance, egotism, entitlement, foolhardiness, vapidness, insincerity, delusion. The writers have aimed to make it so every infamous rich person the audience can think of from our own world will have something in common with at least one of these characters. Anya Taylor-Joy's character is obviously supposed to be our vessel in this situation. She says everything we would be saying in each given scenario.
Is he gonna keep doing that?
She is our down-to-earth anchor. It's through her eyes that we look upon and judge all of these elites. Now, ultimately, all of these people meet the same fate, barring Anya Taylor-Joy, of course, but the manner in which each of them are dissected, exposed, and deconstructed is unique to each of the characters' personal demons. Chef Slowik, who administers this so-called justice, takes the time to deal with each of them individually and personally. With some of the diners, Chef outplays them by rendering the power that they think they have over him useless. The three cocky young businessmen spend the whole evening bragging about their revered positions they have in this reputable company they work for. On many occasions do they use their positions as leverage whilst warning or threatening the restaurant clientele.
You know who we are, right?
Yes.
You do?
For most of the film, they conduct themselves with this arrogant assumption that they're utterly untouchable. It's only until later do they realise that this is a farce. When Chef Slowik reveals that he has taken their employer captive and then proceeds to execute their boss in this very theatrical manner, Chef demonstrates to them that for all their status and wealth, they aren't exempt from his murderous intent, as he's literally just killed the person who they deem to be of the highest authority, and he's done so without a care in the world, which is also a key aspect about his character that makes him so deadly. Having spent all of these years entwined with the toxic industry of upper-class dining, he's finally grown tired of all of the hollow virtues and ideologies that are encouraged and propagated by so many vain people, so much so that he's now decided to let go of all of that vacuous nonsense. He no longer cares about popularity, about pleasing critics, about complying with corporate higher-ups. He is no longer worried about staying on top of the game as as a celebrity chef or keeping his restaurant financially afloat by satisfying his ungrateful customers. All of these things that once held power and influence over him now hold no value or substance at all, and now it's time to exact his revenge on these people with utter creative freedom. And this liberated mindset of his particularly applies to how he deals with his longtime industry nemesis Lillian, the sly and callous food critic who covets power through her slick words and scorching reviews, so hopped up on this inflated sense of self-worth that she completely forgets that all her power stems from simple words. And once Slowick illustrates to Lillian that her words mean nothing to him, she is given a harsh reality check and realizes her true standing within this situation, a helpless victim who can do nothing to change her fate. The washed-up actor, on the other hand, adds some variety to things as he experiences his comeuppance through a somewhat different flavour. Unlike the prior examples, the actor is a little bit more humble and remorseful when being confronted with his past misgivings. We can gather that he's a hair more self-aware about his place in society. We get dialogue that infers to us that his career is on the decline, but he isn't delusional about it. Through a lot of self-deprecation, we see that he's accepted this fact.
What are you working on now?
Oh, hey, thanks for asking. See, people still know me.
Similar to how later in the film, he quickly accepts his fate in this dire situation.
What happens to an artist when he loses his purpose? It's pitiful.
No, you're right.
And comes to terms with how spineless and vacuous he is.
Hold it.
What?
Sorry. Come on, you know I'm awful.
You get the impression that he's known these things about himself for a long time, and even to some extent has been anticipating a comeuppance like this. Chef Slowick effortlessly outs him for being a disingenuous artist, and the actor doesn't even dispute it. Perhaps the strangest subject within this entire restaurant setting is Tyler, who can only really be described as a sociopathic art snob. At first, it's quite difficult to pinpoint what the chef would have against him. Tyler has nothing but sheer admiration for the man as well as his work. No matter what dish the chef presents the customers with, Tyler always eagerly laps it up and praises its artistic genius. And there perhaps in lies Tyler's failings. He has no real eye for art, no true sense of craftsmanship or knowledge of making something that is genuine. He is nothing but a self-inflated sycophant. This art of cooking is nothing but a stepping stone for him to envelop himself within this world that he perceives to be divine. By worshipping Chef Slowick's creations and designating the man as a godlike figure, he adulates himself for simply being associated with his work. It's not about creating tasty food that satisfies the common man. It's about this strange vanity quest to affiliate oneself with a divine entity. Chef Slowick proves to everyone that it's not at all about the craftsmanship when he forces Tyler to produce his own personal dish, which results in Tyler presenting a crude, incoherent, incompetently made and pitiful meal. A meal literally named Tyler's bullshit. This dish is a reflection of Tyler's soul, something of no true substance. And with that, Chef Slowick exposes Tyler. Finally, we have Margot, who is not a member of high society, and thus her fate plays out much differently to the others. In fact, she is the one who exposes Chef Slowick for his failure in providing a satiating dinner. He is the one without substance. He spent the whole film on this virtuous expose of all of those he deemed unworthy of life and forgot to produce any food of actual value. Margot reminds him of that, and for the first time throughout this whole story, Chef Slowick is not the one who holds the power.
Every dish you've served tonight has been some intellectual exercise rather than something you want to sit and enjoy. Your single purpose on this earth is to serve people food that they might actually like, and you have failed.
He accepts that he has done wrong and cooks her the first real food of the night. Margot is then free to leave, as morally she sits above everyone else. She has no vanity, no ego, no lust for power, wealth or adulation. She has only the simple but pure desire to consume tasty food. And with that, it's time for an American cheeseburger. Yummy, yummy.